Okay, so welcome everyone, and we are at the regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District of Thursday, January 9th, 2020. Welcome everyone. Camilla, thank you so much for being here today. Staff, well, you have to be, so directors, it's not optional for you either. So thank you all for being here today, and Happy New Year. I would like to acknowledge that we are within the territory of the Shuswap First Nation, and we have an amended agenda in front of us today with some items that were added at our Planning and Community Development Committee from earlier today. So may I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda, please? So moved and seconded. Are there any other changes? Yes, Director McMahon.
I believe under new business we wanted to discuss videotaping public meetings.
Videotaping public meetings. Okay. Is there anything else? So I will take that as a motion to amend the already amended agenda. If I can have a seconder for that. Seconded. All those in favor of that amendment? Carries. So we now have an amended agenda in front of us. Okay. Any further additions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Minutes, our regular board meeting minutes of December 12th, 2019, Annex A, pages 1 through 13 of your package. Are there any errors, additions, omissions, deletions, etc.? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt. So moved. Seconded. Any further comment? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Look to staff. Anything there? No? Okay. We'll move on to we have no presentations or delegations today, but we'll move on to our reports. I'm going to ask for a motion to receive all the reports at this time, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So we're going to go on to Annex B, the Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendations numbers 1 through 24 of December 4th, 2019. Directors, before we adopt those recommendations, are there any of those recommendations you'd like to pull out to debate separately? Director Kroll. Microphone, please.
Sorry, just Mayor Beamish wasn't in fact there. I was there.
For the Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee on December 4th? Okay. So noted. Thank you. Okay. Are there any of those that you'd like to pull out before we adopt those recommendations as a whole? Oh, I'm going to look to Sherry. Would you like us to make a motion to amend that, or is that okay with just that verbal?
Thank you, Chair. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So may I have a motion to adopt? So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendations numbers 1 through 36 of December 5th and 6th, Annex C, pages 23 to 37 of your package. Directors, would you like to pull out any of those to debate separately before we move those as a block? Seeing none, a motion to adopt and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Number 5 on the agenda, Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations of December 12th, 2019, Annex D, pages 38 to 46 of your package. Directors, would you like to pull out any of those recommendations listed to debate separately before we move the block? Wow, nobody's jumping. Okay, so may I have a motion to adopt those recommendations, please? So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So 5A, the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations numbers 4, 6, and 7 of earlier today, page 46A of your package. Directors, would you like to pull out any of those to debate separately before we move those as a block? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt and seconded? All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, we have no communications today. We have no motions. We have bylaws. So Annex E, pages 47 to 48 of your package, is the Sunshine Coast Regional District Electoral Area A zoning amendment, and this is for first reading. It is for the electoral area directors from A, B, D, E, and F, one vote each, and we are going to have first reading at this meeting. So may I ask for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Electoral A zoning amendment bylaw number 337.121 2020. So moved and seconded? Seconded. Okay, and my role directors, all those in favor? Motion carries. Terrific. We're just moving right through all the way to directors' reports. Oh, everybody's going to look to see if they have anything to say. Okay, I'm going to start with Director Ties because you made first eye contact.
Fantastic. I think that's the first time I've ever been first. Well, that gives me the opportunity to say welcome, Dean Mckinley, and happy to see you here. First board meeting. And I had a very mellow Christmas break, and things are, things were good in the creek, so I don't really have much more to say to that. Thanks.
Excellent. So our one word for 2020 is succinct and efficient. So, Director Toth, you're next, and then you get to be before Director Seegers as well.
Awesome. Let's see if I can work the microphone. I too don't have much to report. My Christmas was probably less relaxed. Had some staff illnesses in my shop, so I ended up working right through to 5 p.m. Christmas evening. But yeah, no, things are okay. No Boxing Day sinkholes in Sechelt. So that's my report.
2018 was eventful in Sechelt in the last part of the year, so 2018. Yeah, okay. We'll move on. Thank you, Director Toth, and we'll move on to Director Kroll. And anything to report from the town of Gibsons?
Relatively quiet. We did, on December 22nd, we did a Christmas dinner. It was hosted by a group of the local churches, 10 turkeys, 8 hams, 200 pounds of potatoes, 80 pounds of Brussels sprouts, about 5 gallons of gravy, 13 hours in the kitchen. It was, there were about 200 people served, and then dinners were sent up to High Tide and the shelter and the Gibsons Winter Shelter. So it was fairly well received. It's been suggested in the community it should be done on a monthly basis. I don't think I'm up for that amount of cooking. Although it is a great experience, and we had some really great volunteers who came out. And if for anyone who has or hasn't attended it, the people who come in are served. So it's not like stand in line and get a dollop of mashed potatoes slung on your plate. It's like going to a restaurant and being served. So it's short of having linen table napkins, it's quite a good affair. On a side note, on the 4th of January, I attended a critical incident stress management introduction, which was hosted by the Justice Institute. And for anyone who has the opportunity to attend it, it's a really great introduction to critical incident stress management. And sitting there at the seminar, it made me really aware of what staff go through. They're the people who have to stand at the counter and listen to people abusing them and screaming at them about this, that, and the other thing. The town of Gibson staff and the RD staff. So it's something that I would highly recommend that people attend, just to become aware of levels of stress that they're exposed to. Great course. And because we were able to get a group of people together to do the course, the Justice Institute came up to deliver the program, which was great. And that's about it for me.
Thank you, Director Kroll. We'll go to the other end of the SCRD and Director Lee and Area A.
Yeah. I went to the Rotary meeting, and Seashelt Rotary were up there making presentations, and they've been selling address signs, and I just noticed how valuable they are. They're big ones, easy to read. They're in front of the residents. It helps the fire department and the ambulances. And if you get a chance to buy some, you should, because if you don't have a big address already, it's actually one of the more important things to do. Also, they're placing AEDs, the automatic defibrillators, in the various parts of the community. We're getting 5 up in the Pender area, and we're arranging training as well. And we got one at the community dock in Madeira and one in the community hall, and 3 more scattered around. Again, Seashelt was spearheading that, so it's nice they're doing all the work and bringing it up to us, and I thought that was great. Thank you. And the final thing I did is I went on a Christmas cruise and decorated my boat all up and went driving around in the dark, and it was great fun. You just follow Bob, though, because he's got the radar, so you don't go too far away from him. And then the other thing you do, you get your son to drive the boat because he can see better in the dark. Anyways, that's what I did. So I showed you I didn't do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. And you're welcome for that. That's my Rotary Club that does the signs, and it's a great community project and helping everybody's address be a little bit more visible. So, and we're doing it on just above a cost recovery basis, so they're actually very affordable. Yeah. So, Director McMahon, how's Elphinstone?
Well, Elphinstone is wet. I think the 3 biggest topics I've been hearing about in recent weeks are stormwater, mainly in places where people don't want it, bears, also in places that people don't necessarily want them, and I think particularly with the media attention on Australia right now, there's a lot of people raising questions about emergency plans on the Sunshine Coast and how would we evacuate and what would we do if there was a fire. On that topic, the Elphinstone Community Association is looking for speakers, and emergency planning is one of the top things that they're looking for a speaker on. Perhaps we can volunteer somebody from the SCRD. I had a busy day yesterday at 2 wastewater meetings and then the Community Association meeting. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The first wastewater meeting with Wood Creek Park was very well attended. We had a full room, and people were concerned, but the general atmosphere, I would say, was upbeat. The Neighborhood Association is doing really good work keeping residents informed of issues in that area. The history was fascinating. There were at least 4 people there who had lived in Wood Creek Park since it was built and regaled us with sewage stories. The second meeting with Sunnyside and Langdale was also interesting, but they're 2 entirely different situations. And so the focus naturally went on Langdale, which is much more controversial, and there were some fairly unhappy people there wanting, nobody wants to take their sewage back. Nobody. Then I presented my director's report at the Elphinstone Community Association, the 5 horsemen of the property tax apocalypse, which was lots of fun. I awarded prizes for trivia questions. What was most interesting to me is I had a show of hands. I asked residents, because everybody just got their assessments, how many people's assessments had gone up, and actually more than half the room, their assessments had gone up, which is interesting because the Coast Reporter's story said that the average was down, and mine is down. But it was split, I'd say 55-45. So I don't know if you're looking for a Facebook poll to amuse people, you can ask people whether their assessments went up or down. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Director McMahon. I will move over to your neighboring electoral area and Director Hiltz. You did.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to be back. It seems like a long time since December. But you probably have heard of the new tourist attraction in Grantham's Landing, known as the Niagara Falls in Grantham's Landing. And it isn't so much a tourist attraction. It's to what happens at this particular place in Grantham's Landing is it's like Niagara Falls. As the water goes over, you have a rigid cap on the top, and it erodes looser gravel in the bottom, and then it collapses, and it keeps moving back. So as Niagara Falls, I think, will eventually meet Lake Erie or something like that. I'm not sure how far Soames Creek will eventually. It'll maybe reach Upper Gibsons, perhaps, if it keeps going. But it's not intended to be a tourist attraction. But you can have your picture taken beside it with proper safety precautions and things
Are there
like
any lovers going over the side, or in barrels, or
it's
any wedding elopements, or?
We're looking at all possibilities, I think, yeah. And the community in the area has been very, I think, persistent in keeping focus on that. And at the wastewater discussion, someone says, well, we sure don't want to have a Grantham's Landing problem in our area. So I guess it's sort of a critical mass where people are recognizing that this is an issue. And yeah, we're looking forward to Moti coming up with a solution. Yeah, as we discussed this morning, I think there's more desire to come up with a resolution, that there has been a threshold that has been reached and is causing people to, they're scared. Right? So, and just thanks to staff on the wastewater, it was, staff handled some interesting questions about related to which are kind of distant, but they were able to focus on the problem at hand. And I was really impressed by the level of participation of the people and the knowledge and that reaching out to the public. I'm going to go back to, I think it was December 12th or 16th, we had the Water Solutions people at Davis Bay. Was that the 16th of December? Yeah, it was a long time ago, and the community just has so much information within them, and I think even staff was enjoying listening to what people were saying, and I'm looking forward to those reports to see how they summarize what people's, the residents' concerns are and how they're going to approach it, and yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Director Seekers, how was your winter vacation?
Well, it was different. Over Christmas, my husband actually went out beginning of December, and I went out on the 20th. Our daughter decided she was renovating her main floor in her house. So she's got a new kitchen. I know how to my husband's been in construction for probably 50 years or so, 45 years, and we've been together for 40-some years. So I was drywalling and painting and laying flooring and helping finish installing cupboards, and it was a lot of fun. 2 days after I got out there, my husband and I went out for breakfast, because of course she didn't have a kitchen, right? So we went out for breakfast, and we got out, and he said, it's really nice nobody knows us here. So it was great. I had like hair in a ponytail, scrubby clothes, and I was out shopping and doing all kinds of stuff. It was awesome. I loved it. Great relaxing time, and spent some time with the family, kids and grandkids. Saw my granddaughter play ringette. She scored. It was 4-4. It ended up, and she scored 2 of the goals and 1 of the assists, and was instrumental in the 4th one as well. She stole the puck from the other team. And the youngest grandson is in hockey. Saw one of his hockey games. I think he scored a few goals too. Like, they're just having a blast. It was a lot of fun. Just before Christmas, I want to say that there were a number of events and get-togethers that was really nice to take a part of. One was the SCRD potluck lunch. It was really nice to be invited to that. And I'm really starting to see, we don't seem like, to most of the staff now, we don't seem like these people from outer space or, aliens who've kind of come in. We're starting to get accepted a little more. And it's noticeable in the community when we're out and about, and actually SCRD staff come up and talk to us. So I really appreciate that. It's, we're normal people, and it's nice to be acknowledged for that. We had the District of Seashell Christmas party. That was a lot of fun. They did a music trivia night, and it was council against the rest of the staff. It was awesome. They beat us a few times by 1 point. Darn. And then there was also a chamber get-together. So I went to that, and an elected women's gathering. So it's the second one that we've done, elected women on the Sunshine Coast. We have a presence here, and it was really good to get together. It was a small group that got together this time, but great conversation. And we're looking at how do we support each other in moving things forward. So it was really good. Probably one of the most fun ones was on just the day, a couple days before I left. The Seashell Library did a little session with young people, under 5-ish. It was a PJ day with their stuffies. So it was just before council meeting. So I only wore my house coat. I didn't wear my pajamas because I didn't think I should go and chair a meeting with my pajamas, but I wore the house coat, so they were pleased. What happened was I took my stuffed chicken, because there's a mayor on TV who has a chicken, a live chicken, carries around in her purse. I was told this by one of the kids, so I took my stuffed chicken, and the stuffed animals spent the night in the library and got up to all kinds of activities, which they took pictures of, and then put a PowerPoint presentation together and shared it with the kids who left their stuffed animals there. So it was a lot of fun. They were doing things with the photocopier and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you get the picture. Couple of events upcoming. I just got back yesterday. So tomorrow, Lorene Reed, who was instrumental in those signs and the AEDs that you were talking about, a number of other things on the Sunshine Coast, is being presented with a Queen's Volunteer Award medal tomorrow afternoon. And on Saturday at 1:30 at the Seashell Band Hall, there is a tribute to Mike Shanks. So for any of you who'd like to come, it's at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that's all I have to report. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I will finish off the director's reports. A few things. First off, Happy New Year to everyone. Back in 2019, it was an incredible honor to be here for the staff and board potluck. Really, thank you so much for including the board in that, and to the organizers, the staff organizers. That was it was a lot of fun, and it was really neat to be able to participate in that. The elected women's dinner, that was another thing that was on my list. That was incredible, especially being able to, with having the youth voice at the school district and at the town of Gibsons, being able to include them in that, being that they're both women, young women, we were able to include them as well. And a couple of them weren't able to attend, but we did have some youth voice there too, so that was fantastic. And it's a really neat, diverse group of women elected here on the Sunshine Coast, and we're just happy to be able to support one another. I attended the Wastewater Consultation for Area B earlier this week, about 65 attendees, and it was there's some angst in the room, of course, because of the costs coming up, and it was and staff handled it really, really well, and I interjected with a couple of political points to help take some arrows. I think it was tough. Staff handled themselves so well, though, and I just want to make sure you tell your team that they did a really great job with that. So it was a tough room, and people came into the room looking for a bit of a fight. So they handled themselves really well. Tonight is the local government show on Coast Cable. So if you've got Coast Cable, 7 p.m. talk to your chair and mayors, or listen to us talk while Sean Eckford sends questions our ways, and as we try to answer them all. Yeah, I know. There's no phone-in capability. Darn. I would like to recognize, too, I am so happy to see the strategic plan on our wall. So thank you for making that happen. Okay. Excellent. But yes, I'm very happy to see that there, so it remains front and center. And so this is the meeting where we actually have this interesting little crossover. We have multiple CAOs, which we've had over the last year. We've had multiple CAOs. And so I'd just like to take the opportunity to, I guess this is Mark's last meeting, at board meeting, I should say, unless we continue to carry you through and double the load. Why not, right? Well, look at how much we've gotten done already. You know, what could we do with two? No. I should be careful, or otherwise I'll have HR down my back. And then we also have Dean Mckinley joining us for his first official board meeting, and I understand this week has been a fire hose and a half. Multiple fire hoses coming at you, and really impressed with how you've hit the ground running. And thank you so much for choosing us as your next portion of your career, and we're very happy to have you here. But from the board, I have a going away gift and then a welcome gift, and it's the same gift, but there's different messages inside. So for CAO Brown and for CAO McKinley, we have a book on the Sunshine Coast, so you can remember us. Excellent. And so you can learn about us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Does this happen every meeting?
Yeah. So in the inside cover, there's some messages from the board members. So yeah, and that's a book that's locally published on the Sunshine Coast, so up in Pender Harbor. Mm-hmm. So it's a really neat book to have. So with that, we have a new business item. Director McMahon, you wanted to talk about videotaping public meetings.
Yes, it came up this morning that some public meetings that are of high interest, we really should find a way to stream them or video them and get them online, because it's difficult for a lot of people to attend meetings, particularly during the week. And in fact, this came up, I will mention also when I was recruiting for the APC, the Wednesday date is a problem for a lot of people, because we have a lot of people in our areas who work in town at least part of the time, or who are, frequently traveling. And so anyway, I'd like to figure out how we can put some proposal in, maybe as part of the communications budget, so that we can figure out a way to make some public meetings more accessible via video.
And just to add on to that, one of the suggestions that had come up this morning was either maybe Facebook Live or something like that, just as a using social media or a platform like that, or YouTube, what have you, just to make it more approachable and less costly. So, go ahead, Director Seegers.
One that we're just starting to use in Seashelt, and we're piloting it right now because we have some counselors traveling, is Zoom. And for my business, my office is in Calgary. I was informed when I was out there, we have 86 mortgage brokers now working for our company, and they're all over Canada, and we use Zoom for our meetings all the time. And it's videotaped through that platform. You can see everybody who's there, including the presenters. You can share screens. and then it is actually shared on our closed Facebook group. So that could be something that's available as well. So we'll see how it works in Seashell, but fairly inexpensive.
CEO O'Brien?
Thank you, Chair Pratt. Just perhaps provide a brief update from both Sherry and Dean. We have been talking about this actively on a number of fronts, so maybe perhaps just a quick status report.
So the boardroom is now being prepped, so we will have video streaming available in the boardroom. So for meetings that are actually on site at the RD, we will already have a built-in function for that. And so is this, are you talking about this for when we're off-site, say for public hearings, that sort of thing? Okay.
Public hearing, public information sessions.
Okay.
Similarly, the wastewater meetings would be, would be a good example as well.
Okay, but we should have that capacity in the boardroom, I think, in the next month.
Director McMahon?
The wastewater meetings were a really good example. Or, back when we had the water dialogues, it would have been really good to have that. We had talked about Zoom for agenda review meetings, and I think that's I think we should try this out.
That came up yesterday at PCDC agenda review. Was it 7 minutes? No, okay. We drug it out to 13. CEO Mckinley.
Thank you. We also had a bit of a discussion yesterday about there's actually an ability to utilize some UBCM funding. The funding is provided for emergency operations center upgrades or emergency social services upgrades, but in Mackenzie we've been very, very successful in using that funding for emergency operations center upgrades that are for audio and video equipment and different things that can be used at your emergency operations center, especially an auxiliary or secondary emergency operations center. And of course, that equipment is also available to be used for other purposes when the emergency operations center isn't running. And that's a grant of up to $25,000. We apply every single year in Mackenzie and have not been turned down yet.
Excellent. Welcome to the team. Do you have water back there, too?
So we did have, coincidentally, a meeting with Mr. Trade about this, so we're exploring that avenue of funding. So.
Excellent. Okay. Any other conversation on this item? Wow, okay. I hate to, this is like the shortest open meeting we've had, and we will be going in closed. So I will need a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with Section 91 AC and 2B of the Community Charter. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay. And we'll ask